Why did Walford decide to get involved with the Teaching for Mastery programme?
Well, in 2016 we saw a dip in our maths results, and we quickly saw that we needed to make some changes, and we felt that the Teaching for Mastery was definitely the way to go. We could see that we needed to embed problem solving, reasoning and justifying in every maths lesson, and therefore that was something that we pursued.
Was it an easy decision for you as a head to make?
Most definitely for me. We needed to make a change. We all agreed that the Teaching for Mastery was the whole school priority, and of course it's funded, so there was nothing to lose.
And how did you get involved with the programme?
Well, 2 teachers expressed a desire to take part in a teacher research group, which was excellent for the school because it was my Year 2 teacher and my Year 5 teacher, who's also my deputy, and our maths coordinator. So they both were interested in taking part, applied, and were both successful.
What did you have to commit to, and did it turn out as expected?
Right, well, yes, 6 training sessions throughout the year the teachers commit to, 1 per half term. Whilst that can create some challenge because you don't want to have your good and outstanding teachers out of school necessarily, actually I'm passionate about developing the staff team, and the benefits to the whole team as a result of the knowledge and expertise that the 2 teachers involved gained was enormous. The other commitment to be made is actually to make a change in the way you deliver maths, and that was something we had to do, and so the results were most definitely extremely pleasing. We were all delighted that in our end of year Key Stage 2 results we went from 60% to 81% in our expected, and our greater depth went from 5% to 35%. So we were absolutely thrilled with that.
How is maths teaching at Walford changing as a result of being in the programme? Are there any changes, key changes, that you've made so far?
Well, initially we thought that we would trial in Year 2 and Year 5 because it was those teachers that were taking part in the teacher research group. They were coming back from their training and cascading their knowledge and skills, and there was definitely a buzz around school, and all staff were interested and keen to take part. So it very quickly rippled out, and we ensured that we had training in place. In fact, my deputy couldn't attend the second session of the teacher research group, and of course we were committed, but it was circumstances beyond her control. And so I contacted the hub and said that I would attend instead. And actually it was one of the finest things I did, because I was totally excited to see the outstanding training that the teachers were receiving, and also that opportunity to sit down and look at teaching and really dissect the pedagogy and unravel all of the small learning steps along the way. And so I wanted to adopt that style when I came back to school. And so we mapped in time. I will take an assembly, for example, whole school assembly, and my deputy will teach an aspect of maths for the rest of the staff to observe. And then it might not happen straight after the lesson as it would in the research group, but certainly that day, maybe later that day in a staff meeting, we would then sit and discuss all that was seen and unpick the learning. So it was very much slowing the learning down. Some expressed concern around that because we have so much coverage to do, but we realised that actually taking those small steps in terms of the learning will embed that learning, and the mastery will come. And that's something we've definitely worked hard on. We've also introduced hot and cold tasks so that we can look at where the children have barriers, and we know what concepts, what small steps to be discussed and taught in more detail. I also have taken sporting activities or singing for the teachers to be able to take part in pre and post teaching, so that no child is left behind. Every session the teachers, if need be, will pick up children if there are misconceptions or if there is some barrier at all. They will then do some pre and post teaching to ensure that the children are ready for that next maths session.
Have you made any changes to marking and assessment and how you approach that task currently?
So the hot and cold tasks are used so that teachers can really look at each individual child and what they know in terms of a mathematical concept and what steps need to be taken to embed that learning. So it is very much slowed down, but the benefits are enormous. For example, even in our Year 6 class, where teachers are under pressure with SATs, every concept was looked at, and just those small steps taken paid dividends. It didn't happen over weeks, because in Year 6, for example, you don't necessarily have that time, but we have embedded from the Year 1 class, that's the aim whole school, to be making sure that teaching for mastery is very much embedded throughout the school now. But the year groups that haven't benefited from that from the start, we are breaking down the steps for the learning to ensure that practice and procedure is as it should be.
Staying with this theme of change that you've seen in your school, what signs of positive impacts have you seen so far?
Well, our children are very much more resilient. They love the challenge. We've introduced challenging material, more challenging and superstar material. One thing that resonated very strongly with the whole team following one of the teacher research group sessions that our 2 teachers attended, they came back to tell us about a research that had happened with a jar of fleas. And so if you imagine the jar is full of fleas, and the fleas will jump to the lid of the jar. If the lid was removed, the fleas continued to jump to the same point. So putting a ceiling on children's learning, that resonated with us all. And what we have seen is now working with mixed ability, not deciding that some children can only access this or that, has made a big difference. The self-esteem has grown. We've also seen, even with the higher ability, sometimes they find it very challenging to explain and justify their reasoning, and that has proven to be useful in terms of developing them further. But that working together, all at the same, all on the same concept, has been really, really beneficial. Parents have enjoyed being involved too. We conduct parent workshops and learning walks. For those parents of children who are higher ability, there was some expressions of concern that actually their children might coast or be not so challenged, and we were able to show them how the reasoning and justifying was so important, and they very quickly got on board with that and could see that. In our Ofsted in July last year, the inspectors noted the high quality training that staff had received, and that had ensured they were able to implement the demands of the mathematical curriculum. And they also noted that the children loved their maths lessons, and that they were resilient and they worked hard to check their answers and to justify their reasoning. So that is most definitely coming through across the school, and we're very excited about that.
Given these fantastic positive impacts, what would you say to heads of other schools who might be thinking about getting involved with the Teaching for Mastery programme?
Well, everybody wins. It is something I would urge every school to take part in. It is funded. The knowledge and expertise gained is invaluable. The training is such high quality. We had resource implications through match funding with the Maths Hub. We were able to invest in new textbooks which really cement and promote the Teaching for Mastery. And we also had resource implications around the fact that often in Key Stage 2 there's been too much emphasis on children working in the abstract and not having enough concrete materials to work with. And so our PTFA got on board very quickly, and through lots of fundraising, every class in the school now has a tabletop toolkit with all the maths resources they need to enable them to investigate and to test out their reasoning and thinking throughout their maths lessons. So it's been a very, very positive a journey for us for the last year. And in terms of staff, as I say, in the Ofsted, that was noted in terms of the quality of training that the whole team are getting as a result of 2 teachers being involved in the teacher research group, and that is enormously beneficial for us as a school.